You are listening to the MSPoweruser podcast. This is episode 39, recorded Thursday, March 16th. Each week on the show, we discuss the latest news about Microsoft, including LinkedIn, Xbox Scorpio, Microsoft Teams, Windows Vista, Google Chrome, Snapchat, and Facebook Messenger. That doesn't actually sound too Microsofty, but we will obviously dig deeper and explain how that relates. My name is Vernon E.L. Smith, and I'm joined, as usual, by Andy Bennett. Hi, Andy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's a little bit late, and I have an incredibly long day tomorrow, which I'm getting up very early for. It's been a crazy week for me here. My wife has been in Vegas all week for work, quote-unquote work, and I'm exhausted. The children are getting... well, they're not sick of me yet, but no, we've been having a really good time. So,
all right.
How are you?
I've been doing great. This is actually the first episode of the podcast recorded from my brand new computer, which, thanks to all the settings syncing that Microsoft and various other programs I use do, it really feels more like the same old machine than the new one until you take a look at performance comparisons. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I want to hear more about that probably at the end of the show.
Okay, but yeah, brand new Acer Signature Edition, really, really nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's jump right into insider news. The creators update. We have another build that was released 15.0.60 for Fast Ring. Tell us about this, Andy.
All right. 15.0.60 is pretty close to the unnamed equivalent of RTM. It is, I mean, we've been saying this for a while, but yeah, this is
RC at least, release candidate.
Yeah, release candidate's a pretty good term for this one, and I would not be surprised if we just start seeing a bunch of patches, or rather cumulative updates go out for this one, and then it just becomes the final build, as has happened in the past. And this one fixes quite a few things. It fixes stuff like the settings icon appearing kind of Windows 8 style. It's like, you know how Windows 10 icons, for the most part, exception here being Skype, because Skype is Skype. When you open up, say, the settings app on stable Windows 10 right now, you'll see just a gear icon, white icon, with no background. Well, the bug was the kind of thing that would revert it to that Windows 8 style, where you'd see a background behind the gear, and the gear would be smaller than usual. And it didn't really seem to happen to everyone, I don't think, because I don't remember it ever happening to me when I was using Insider stuff for a couple of days. And then that kind of crashed and burned on the computer I was using it on, but hey, new computer anyway, so whatever. But yeah, it was something that I saw multiple people having this issue. Aaron Hall, who we had on a guest on here one week when I couldn't make it, I saw him having this quite a bit with multiple builds. So yeah, nice to see that they finally fixed it. Alrighty. Yeah, another issue that was fixed alongside with that. It resulted in another issue now being fixed where if settings had been pinned to start, the tile would become grayed out after the first time it was clicked. Thank you all for your feedback on this. Fixed an issue resulting in third-party IMEs not showing up in settings after being installed. Fixed an issue in Microsoft Edge where quickly typing and deleting characters into a website search box while using MS Pinion IME might result in the IME becoming stuck in the website showing not responding. That one's a mouthful.
That'd be annoying. Well,
it's true. Surface Pro 3 and Surface 3 devices should no longer fail to update to new builds if an SD card is inserted, if you have the latest Surface drivers and firmware installed. Okay, that's nice. Fix an issue where taskhost.exe might crash after pressing Tab while quickly typing in UWP app sign-in fields, resulting in not being able to type for a few seconds. Huh. Fix an issue for insiders where after a crash, Microsoft Edge might fail to launch again for a few minutes because previous instances were still suspended in the background. And finally, we fixed the issues occurring when exploring pages using the F12 developer tools in Microsoft Edge with cross-origin iframes. Example, the DOM Explorer only shows the iframe DOM, the console frame selector doesn't list any iframes, etc. And that's the list of fixes right now. After that's a list of known issues, which I will pass over to Vernon real quick.
Well, you're not going to be able to download new language packs in this build. If PC fails to install this build on reboot, let's see. If your PC fails to install this build on reboot with the error number, reboot manually again. If your PC appears to hang during the reboot, power your PC off, back on, and install will proceed. So power it off again, turn it back on. Some insiders have reported seeing the error. Some updates were canceled. We'll keep trying in case new updates become available. Some apps and games may crash due to misconfiguration of advertising ID. There's a bug where if you need to restart the PC due to pending update, the restart reminder dialog doesn't pop up. And for gaming, there's certain hardware configurations may cause the broadcast live review window in the game bar to flash green while you are broadcasting. So yeah, there's still issues. They're still working through them, obviously, but we are getting close. We're getting there.
And I have a feeling that the majority of these, if not all of them, could be fixed with cumulative updates right now. I don't really think there's too much in here that's the tier that you need a totally new build for it, but keep in mind, I don't work for Microsoft. I have never touched Windows source code, and even if I had access to all of Windows source code, I would have no idea where to start with any of it. So, yeah, but it seems like it's mostly minor stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, last week we talked about how there are quote-unquote ads in the File Explorer, and there are different forms of advertising within Windows 10, multiple places. And to some people, it is a really hot topic, and this topic has not died down yet. We've continued. So this week, check out some commentary by Michael Allison of the site on why we shouldn't have to defend the ads in Windows 10. I'm not going to get into that. Andy, you can say a spiel on this quick if you'd like to or not.
I can say that, the last week when I reinstalled Windows 10 for the first time in, it's been a while, I completely forgot that there were not one, not two, but three different settings in completely different places you have to switch off to completely get rid of what people would consider as ads. You have get tips and tricks while you use Windows, which you have to disable. That's little pop-ups on the taskbar, I believe. You have to disable suggested apps in the start menu. Then you have to disable suggestions on the lock screen. Would really like if there was just one little setting titled all the stuff you really don't want and it was set to off by default. That would be nice.
Well, to counterpoint that, Microsoft has goals they want to achieve with the operating system. And it's based off of, a lot of that is based off of human psychology and just the difference between having a default on or default off, opt in or opt out, all those things, whatever. I think we'll talk a little bit more about settings and especially in a new computer at the end of the show here.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, obviously the creators update is coming. We know it's coming out and it's been teased basically in the settings saying, I forget exactly the verbiage, saying, this is how you would prepare for the creators update when it comes out. And I didn't even open up the article. I just know that this has been teased. And
I opened up Windows Update to try and tell you the exact wording from there, but because this is a new computer, I still have one update remaining to be installed.
Yeah. So, but it is nice to see that they're putting that. I've never seen that before, where Microsoft is actually putting in the settings, the words of the next update coming out, which is I guess not really monumental, but it is different. It isn't something I've seen before.
Well, before Windows 10 came out, Windows Update in Windows 7 and 8.x did display a little banner that was kind of similar. And said, hey, Windows 10's coming, prepare.
Right, that's right.
But in Windows 10 itself, there has been nothing like this yet, and it's not that bad. I don't think it's... My definition of an advertisement is generally for something that is an attempt to make money. This is just saying, hey, there's a new update coming soon. Here's how to prepare your stuff.
Yeah.
That's pure information.
And when letting people know that Windows 10 was going to be available soon, that was quite a bit different than announcing ahead of time of an update. I mean,
which GWX was a completely different classification after a while, though. But that's a topic for another day, and it's kind of beating a dead horse, anyways, since upgrade ended in July.
All right. Well, speaking of a dead horse, Andy, tell us about our favorite version of Windows that we love to hate.
Well, I'm probably the last person alive to do a fresh install of Windows Vista. But
I believe that.
Yeah, actually, I think we talked about it on the show back when I did it. Yeah, that late last year, I did a fresh install of Windows Vista, and I used it for like a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I went back to it here and there because it was the only way I could get Unreal Tournament 2004 to work. But I honestly really enjoyed it. I mean, keep in mind, completely patched Service Pack 2 is definitely way more stable than it was when it released, and even if I just went into fresh Windows Vista without any service packs, I still think it would have done better because I'm on modern hardware as opposed to underpowered crap that got shoved out then with Windows Vista on it. And it's an interesting bit of history to look back on, how companies wanted to say their computers were ready for Vista when they weren't. And interesting reading on Wikipedia for anyone who wants to go into it. But anyways, Windows Vista is no longer going to be supported very soon. On April 11th, which is under a month from now, Windows Vista will be completely unsupported. It's been just getting security updates for a while now because there's mainstream support and extended support. This is the end of extended support. Mainstream support is stuff like new DirectX versions or whatever. And extended support, purely bug fixes. Or bug fixes and security updates. Maybe just security updates. I'm not 100% sure there, actually. But let's be honest here. Odds are, if you're still using Vista, security is the last of your concerns. And not even 1% of PCs are running Windows Vista right now. It's like 0.78%. Not even a single percentage of computers are running it. And I would say that there's two instances for this. One, someone just has this really old computer they like to boot up into now and then, or B, they are too poor to get anything newer. Or it's just the classic philosophy of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Now, to be fair, I do have two laptops sitting somewhere around here that one's running Vista. Now, it hasn't powered up in a while, so I know that they're not really counting that. But I can see how if someone, like, I used to actually use that laptop as the media device. I had it hooked in with a VGA cable to my television, and we would, before we had this is a long time ago, we would stream Netflix that way. And I don't know, I mean, that's all we would ever do with it, and I can see how those use case scenarios are still viable. Yeah.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned VGA because I just moved away from that for the first time first time ever that I'm using HDMI on my main computer. But yeah, the story for the end of the episode.
All right, I'm gonna grab these. We gotta finish a couple more things. Line items here. Sorry, it's getting excited there. Finish up Vista here.
Yeah, this is also means there's no more Internet Explorer 9 fixes, which really. Again, if you're using Internet Explorer 9, not only is security the least of your concerns, I don't think you would be listening to this podcast.
I actually worked with some people that he asked me if it was okay for him if it was better for him to upgrade from IE7 to whatever the latest one was. No, IE5. It was what he had on his PC. No, 5 or 7. It was an odd number in the
It would have to be
there.
Well, 7 at the very least. Internet Explorer 7 would be...
It's on an XP machine.
Okay, then yeah, XP machine. Internet Explorer 7 was second version of Windows on XP. I think it shipped with IE6, which was universally hated. Then got the IE7 upgrade, and then IE8 was the very last version of Internet Explorer available for that system. And then Vista shipped with Internet Explorer 8 as well, I believe.
I don't know how you know that, but that's okay.
I honestly can't even remember.
Except you did.
Well, I mean, I can remember it, but I can't remember how I remember it.
Okay.
Like there was some time when I was going through something, and I found all this information. I just can't remember how I remember.
All right. Okay, and of course,
well, wait a second. Internet Explorer fun fact, though. Windows 8, to my knowledge, was the only version of Windows to have multiple versions of Internet Explorer during its development.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that, actually. I think it was, I don't know if it was actually 8. It might have been 8.1, but I remember seeing Edge.
No, I think it, well, you obviously been seeing Edge then. But like, I think it was 8.0 that they had like a Internet Explorer 10 during early testing days, and they released that to everyone, and that might have been before public unveiling. But then Internet Explorer 11 came along and shipped with it. I think that's about it. Yeah. And yeah, Vista's losing support, and Windows 7's extended support ends in January 2020. So keep that date in mind. It's 3 years from now, but you'll be able to look back on us then and think, hey, yeah, they told me we should upgrade from Windows 7 because 3 years from now it's going to be out of support. And, yeah. Mainstream support for Windows 8 ends in January 2018, so no new features to be added there, although I don't even know if Microsoft would even have anything to add to it. And extended support for Windows 8 ends in 2023.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll hit these next two here. Microsoft delays the Windows 10 mobile lock screen bug fix until the creators update. So the bug that they're talking about, the lock screen bug, well, let me preface this by saying, by design, what you can do with a Windows 10 mobile device is you can launch the camera. I mean, there's a camera button, both dedicated camera button on the device, but also if you're on a newer version, instead of having the back button, when you first hit the power button on the phone and it lights up the display, where the back button would be is a camera button. So you can tap that and it'll go right to the camera. And this is whether it's locked or not, whether it's a PIN or an iris scanner you would need to log into or whatever. You can go to the camera if you set it up in settings to allow that. And from there, and this has been for a long time, even if there's a PIN on the phone, you can take a photo, and then you can view the photos that you've taken, but you can't scroll backwards further from there, which makes sense. Well, there is a bug in which you can't immediately scroll backwards in the photos, but if you fiddle around, I guess don't know the specifics, but it looks like if you went to like if you deleted a photo or if you shared it or something like that, and I didn't bother watching the video twice, but there's a bug in there which if you go around about long enough, you can enter the device, bypass the lock, the PIN or the iris scanner. Obviously, that's not a good thing, but and so they are addressing it. They're aware of it, but they are delaying it, and I am surprised at that because, I guess I should say it's not a very big target, people running Windows 10 mobile, but I could, if I knew what I was doing on it, I could easily hack into someone's phone, and that would not be good. Next up,
that's interesting.
Yeah. Next up, Kantar, the people that determine mobile market share, basically told us what
another group of the people.
Yeah,
that
another
determine
group.
mobile market share.
Basically told us what we already know. Very small Windows Phone market share, 1.3% or whatever, or drops by. I mean, it's not a lot. Okay, it's a few million people, which is still a lot of people, but not a lot of phones.
Yeah, and they described that there's I remember reading earlier when I saw the headline from another site. They explicitly said in the headline, there are only two ecosystems for mobile going forward, which is pretty sad, I think. Well,
I think let me just be bold and say that there are two prosperous mobile ecosystems. Then there's also Windows, which has a mobile branch, a branch that is mobile, but is going to, I'm not even trying to parse words. I'm just saying, like, it's going, it's different than mobile. It's Windows, going forward, and it's going to be considered Windows, I think. Maybe that's confusing. Anyway.
Yeah. But, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really... nothing surprises me about Windows Phone and low market share at this point, although I am reminded of when Joe Belfiore said back in, 2014, the third ecosystem is finally here.
Well, what else is he going to say?
It's like, yeah.
It's like, hey,
it was 2014. Windows Phone was in a much better position then, too.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh, man. It's kind of sucks, really, to see just how stuff has happened.
And he's not going to say, hey, this awesome ship that I'm on, I'm going to go down with it. What's he going to say?
Yeah. I mean, and again, it was before Windows Phone was showing too many troubles. Some were potential, but nothing is like it is now. But anyways,
all right, what's
moving
up? What's
on
next?
to the next section, the Samsung Galaxy Book. It's not a competitor to the MacBook or Surface Book, although it does appear it does seem like more of a general Surface Pro competitor.
At least in form factor.
Yeah, at least in form factor. And this is an interesting device. I have been eyeing this one, specifically the 12-inch variant, since it was announced. I think it was earlier this month.
And at Mobile World Congress.
Mobile World Congress. Boy, I'm chewing my words tonight. And it's a great looking device that I'm honestly excited to potentially try out in the future. And its user manual is now available to download online, and it shows off a couple of interesting things. And it explains some features such as things like Instant Go and Samsung Flow, which the name generally doesn't tell you too much about it.
No.
And there's a couple of interesting notes in there, such as the answer to "this device responds slowly" is that if you use the device without connecting the keyboard cover, the device's speed and performance may be affected. And that's interesting.
So either it's
either
it's actually hobbled once it doesn't have that extra battery, like it's being forced to slow down, or there's actual processing unit in the keyboard portion, which of course is what the Surface Book has, of the option of that. I think it's the former. I don't think it has additional horsepower in. Well, who knows? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, well, that was what I was going to say, because I look at this and it is pretty much paper thin keyboard. It is impossible for me to imagine them stuffing anything in there. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen this thing haven't seen the device in person, but just looking at the pictures, and it seems pretty thin. Like, not even as thin as this person's thumb in this picture.
One thing to consider, too...
I mean, thinner than this person's thumb,
yeah.
that is.
One thing to consider is that the Surface keyboards, even the type cover, not to mention the touch cover, the type cover is flexible. I mean, it's pretty flexible. And if you had a battery in there, I'm sure there's some type of flexible battery technology out there, but I'm not aware of it. I haven't witnessed it myself. If they had a very thin battery in the keyboard, it couldn't flex at all, and it's really thin. And I mean, it doesn't. I would say it looks a little bit thicker than the Surface Pro 3, or the Surface type cover in general. But I don't know. I really want to get my hands on this thing.
Yeah, and this thing looks great.
Yeah.
And actually, I will say though, one thing that they do have stuffed in the keyboard is the NFC tag, which is in there. So, I mean, there is something, I guess, but like a little NFC chip is a whole different world than a battery or a processor or graphics card, you know. So yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
It does look like a great device, though, specifically the 12-inch version, which just dang it, this thing looks very cool. Mm-hmm. Obviously, probably not going to be as good as the Surface Pro, but I mean, I guess it all comes down to the price in the end, really.
And it's worth noting that it does come with LTE connectivity, or at least the option of that. It does come with the Samsung's S Pen, which is not bad. There's a lot of good features. Some would call them gimmicks, but if you use a gimmick often enough and it becomes useful to you, it's a good feature. And an air command basically gets you shortcuts, for use with PDFs or display magnification. And there's even an animated GIF creator in there, so that's lovely.
That's a neat little gimmick.
Yeah, I think people will actually use that gimmick, especially going forward. But anyway.
The one thing I will say about this is that, like, look, we got a picture in the article with both the 10-inch and 12-inch variants. And I got to say, I hope that there's a 12-inch that comes with that white version of the keyboard, because that looks nice.
I would grime it up so bad. I mean, like, I even just today, I had to wipe down my Surface 3. I had spaghetti sauce or ravioli sauce on it from the children. The baby loves to type on it, and obviously
until you said children, I was wondering how would that happen.
No, I'm a relatively hygienic person, but my children tend to read. I swear today, and this is. I'm not saying that this is any different from a normal week when I have the kids. Like when my wife's work and I'm at home. I wipe the dining room table off like 7 times a day. I mean, like, it just gets messy with one thing after another. And that's also where I set my Surface 3 if I'm just hanging out downstairs with them. So obviously food gets anyway. What's our next item here?
Let's see, our next item.
Oh,
Microsoft adds LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman to the board.
So apparently, and I do not know Reid Hoffman personally, but I've heard some things about him, that his brain cells are powerful. That this guy is he's a smart fella. He's in the top percentage or whatever, something percent. But he helped co-found LinkedIn, which is in 2002. Before that, he was an executive vice president at PayPal. I like PayPal. It's obviously pretty big deal. He's currently a partner in venture capitalist firm Greylock Partners. I obviously don't know what that is. He serves on the board of Endomondo, I guess in here it's Edmodo. I don't know what that is. I thought it was Endomondo. Convoy and Blockstream. I don't know what that is either. In addition, he serves on several not-for-profit boards, including RAP and Kiva.org, and the chair of the West Coast Advisory Board for QuestBridge. I think his schedule's probably kind of full. Anyway, he's joining the Microsoft board of directors, which now puts them up to 12 people on the board, which is a little above average. But then again, they are basically running
an above average company.
Yeah, they're an above average company
with
above average reach. And not to say that Amazon or Facebook or Google and Apple aren't powerful companies, but there's an awful lot of influence in that room right there, the boardroom.
Yeah, definitely.
So welcome Reid Hoffman to the board. I'm sure he'll be glad to hear us congratulate him on the podcast.
And speaking of areas where congratulations are due, congratulations to Microsoft Teams on its nice general availability launch. And
it basically went from default off in Office 365 to default on in Office 365, and a bunch of other stuff. But I mean that's kind of where they said, here it is. That's like their launch.
It is their launch. I mean, they had the beta before, and now it's general availability.
I need to go to bed too.
Yeah, I need to. No, I think it's more. I need to get something to drink than going to sleep because I'm just parched. But yeah, and it's got a lot of improvements that it's been getting over the past couple of months. And they have a nice video that sums up all the stuff that becomes available then. Notable improvements include support for public teams, bot support, one-to-one meeting scheduling, and much more. So yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then one feature that did not arrive, but is coming in late June, and this is something where they talk to us. Microsoft spokesman confirmed that they're working on external guest access, which will allow users to invite people outside of their organization into their team as a full-fledged member. Details regarding how this will work are pretty scarce, but we assume that users will be able to configure the permission of guest accounts when inviting them, like, say, for example, all right, guests go in the guest meeting room. They don't get to see anything else.
And that is one of the biggest things that it needs to have. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But yeah, the Teams launch was so big of a deal that it ended up on Good Morning America, surprisingly enough, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, this was interesting, and maybe I don't watch enough television, but they featured it in like a productivity hack person, not a hack in a bad way, but someone who is promotes professionalism or something. And it was so obvious that it was a paid endorsement. But I mean, I don't know, I guess it got it out there to people. It was on Good Morning America. I didn't realize that show was still on. I mean, is it just on YouTube now? I mean, like,
no, it's on a TV. I mean, I tune in the morning sometimes, and I'll flip between GMA and Today whenever I'm bored. Which generally, when it's like 8 a.m. and I have nothing else to do, then yeah, generally I am pretty bored. But
all right, this is specifically going off track. Today I got a call from my ISP provider and said, "Hey, I see you're paying $40 for internet. We can help you save $40." I'm like, and I was like, I know exactly where you're going with this, but okay, sir, tell me more. How can I save $40? So, well, here we can get you, whatever. Wanted me to get a cable or satellite or whatever the heck it was. And he said, yeah, it'll go to $86. I said, okay, I missed something there. You said I would save, and instead I'm paying more. But the point being, I haven't had cable. I have not watched terrestrial TV. Is that a thing? I mean, I haven't paid for it or even had an antenna in like 12, 15 years. It's not a thing for me. And
I picked up an antenna for $30, and it's honestly worth that price just to be able to tune into nightly news.
Yeah. So I will gladly watch YouTube as, Stephen Colbert makes fun of Rachel Maddow. That is certainly a popular video right now. And, yeah. All right. Let's move forward. Apps. Something else that I hate.
Apps? Apps.
So, specific apps. Snapchat. Everyone loves Snapchat, but they kind of, I think... everyone loves what Snapchat is inspiring, I think, because there's the reiterations of what Instagram and Facebook are doing. They're copying Snapchat, but doing it better, as I understand. And yes,
is there anything really like this before, where like one thing is introduced an idea, and then everyone else goes around, they take that idea and just completely improve upon it because the original was pretty crap implementation.
See, the thing about Snapchat, I really do like the concept of gestures. I like knowing the secret handshake or something. Okay, I like being a power user when it comes to something like that. That's kind of cool. I'm just that way.
I need to ask though, are there any Snapchat power users?
Oh, you should see my daughter. It's incredible.
Okay. I was gonna just jokingly say most of the people on there are like 15 to 16. I don't think that's a power user age, but then again, I guess everyone develops their own way of learning, their way around whatever it is, be it an app or an operating system, and adapting to it and figuring out the quickest way to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, I am not a power user. I have not even used Snapchat in a couple of years. I mean, I set it up just to have it and, kind of forget about it. Not a big deal. My daughter uses it all the time, but she is actually reconsidering her connection to it and how much time it is consuming in her life. And she has taken, what do you call it? Cyber breaks or whatever. It's like, I'm just not using Snapchat for a few days. I'm going to uninstall it or whatever. Anyway.
Digital detox?
Yeah, exactly. That's better. Yes. Personally, I would just rather focus on how Microsoft Word picks up when I use the word effect instead of effect and helps me improve, grown-up things. Anyway, enough laying into Snapchat. It's obviously very popular. Instagram, Facebook, Instagram is owned by Facebook. They're competing with it. They want to be in there. Even WhatsApp has it kind of feature parity in some ways with Snapchat, if I recall correctly. I haven't witnessed that. Messenger Day, Facebook Messenger Day, is coming. Like it's coming to the UWP app for Windows. Or at least that's what we feel that's happening. So Messenger Day, which is kind of news to me, it basically works how Snapchat Stories and Instagram Stories and the WhatsApp status works. You can post pictures and videos from your day on Messenger with emojis, text, drawing, that kind of thing. And they last for 24 hours. I don't understand this concept. I don't put a lot of videos on YouTube, but even the fact of doing that, or like something on Facebook and you see the Wayback Machine roll around and, oh, hey, look what you posted 10 years ago. That seems pretty valuable to me. And I also, especially YouTube, if I'm going to create something and put it out there, and podcast is a perfect example of that. I began podcasting in 2012 or something, and those still exist. And maybe I'm not incredibly proud of them, but I'm proud that I did them, that I created something, and I don't want that to just go away. And so to me, this concept of posting something and it going away right away delegitimizes it in my mind. But what it quite literally is doing for people is allowing them to be more creative, less focused, if that's the best way to describe it. And they don't need to adhere to a higher standard if they don't want to. They just go, well, it's gone in a day anyway. So, but right now it's not clear when this new feature will show up in Windows or Windows Phone, if it will. But it basically is some evidence. We've seen some evidence that some of the code is already there. A Windows Phone user has been offered to upload a new picture to the Messenger Day service. A pop-up said, hey, add this to your day. And you still can't post. You can't. For now, the pictures posted to Messenger Day by Windows Phone users seem to just go nowhere. But Windows Phone users have no way. They have no way to view their day, and even friends on other platforms can't view the images either. That's kind of weird. But some of the code is there, and it is coming. Hey, that's kind of a good thing.
I have to wonder if any of this is because Facebook's UWP apps are basically cut and pasted. Not cut and pasted is an oversimplification, but I think my point has gotten across.
Yeah.
When they're basically 1-1 with the iOS version, with the exception of some features being cut out or cut down. Like, I don't even think Messenger supports voice calling yet.
I don't know. I use my phone or Skype for that.
Well, yeah.
I'm old. Get off my lawn. So, as the whole world waits on the edge of their seat for Messenger Day to come to Windows and Windows Phone, Facebook Messenger does get this new feature, polls, Facebook polls or Messenger polls or whatever it's called. And you can kind of guess what that is. I mean, that's been around for a little bit. But it is nice to see that the app is getting some attention, which I think, like you said, Andy, is almost on accident.
Yep. And yeah,
that's
just about it for Facebook for now, I think.
Yeah,
unless there's a breaking Facebook story that comes into the newsroom saying that Facebook has announced that they have bought the Surface phone.
Yeah. Do you want to cover this next one, or I can as well?
Yeah. Okay, so Mark Zuckerberg has announced that he has the very first Surface. I'm kidding. I am kidding. All right. The popular iOS app Complete Anatomy is now available for download in the Windows Store. And this is pretty much what the name says it's going to be. It is an app that shows you all sorts of information about anatomy. If you can't tell your okay, let me say that a different way. If you can't even pronounce temporoparietalis.
All right, do I got to look this up too? Let's see.
This might not be the app for you, or maybe it is if you want to figure out how to pronounce temporoparietalis or temporalis.
See, now I'm intrigued. I gotta see if I got it open.
Open up the article.
I thought I had it open. Yeah, that's why I was skipping through my tabs.
There's one area in this image that pretty much displays how I feel as I try to pronounce this stuff, and it's the tragicus. And yeah, it's an inner. I guess the way to describe
tempoparietalis. All right, I'm done.
Yeah. But yeah, the way to basically describe what this is, I guess, really would be like kind of like an interactive medical textbook. You get
Which I think, yeah, I keep interrupting, and I'm
no. Go ahead.
What you're going to detail here, I think, is the future. This is fantastic. This is so cool how we are almost like that when we first saw, the Iron Man, that type of 3D stuff, and we had some of that stuff before, but this is whatever. This is good. I'm happy about this. This gives me smiles.
Yeah, and I like the idea really of all right, why just study with a book and some illustrations when you can have all the information in the book and study the illustrations by moving them around. So that's an idea that has interested me for a while, and seeing stuff like this is always cool, especially since it's a port from iOS to Windows. So that's neat. All right, Vernon can take the next one.
Chrome. Yeah, I told you we'd talk about Chrome on this MSPoweruser podcast. Basically, Chrome for Windows will be throttling individual background tabs to improve battery life. Yeah, this is good, but it's almost weird that they would even announce it unless it was leaked. I didn't see that. I think they announced it. And, if it was me, I would just say, hey, we made it better and now it's better. And instead, they're basically saying, yeah, we're throttling, we're limiting the average CPU load to 1% of a core if it uses, too much CPU in the background. Things that are still playing audio or video or whatever are still, they're not inhibited, they're not throttled. But it's actually, I'll give Google some credit for attacking this and trying to make it better. And I guess that's good for people who use Windows machines and Chrome.
Yeah, it'll be a nice improvement to battery life. I mean, of course, I also believe that not using Chrome in general is a great improvement to battery life. And of course, they want to change that, but Chrome is a RAM eater.
It is one of my 4 browsers I use. I mean, it's in there. I guess it's my 4th favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes, I will basically use anything except Chrome. I mean, I have gone to stuff that's Chromium, but even Chromium stuff isn't as bad a power hog as just regular old Chrome. I've checked out Vivaldi before, and that one is really, really good, especially when you compare it with stuff that is, of course, built off similar tech. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's jump into gaming, Andy. Looks like we got a lot of good stuff to cover.
Oh, yeah. There's been plenty of gaming news over the past week, and there's been some very interesting stories, like, for example, the fact that PlayStation Now, which came to Windows last year, is now going to get PlayStation 4 games added to its lineup. Previously, it featured just PlayStation 3 games in there, and now, of course, they're going to move up a generation, meaning that, and this will likely include some exclusive PlayStation 4 titles. I'm not sure what, but maybe kind of the obvious answer is one of the remasters, or rather, the remaster of The Last of Us, or something like that. And you'll be able to experience some of those PlayStation exclusive games on your Windows computer, but the downside is that it isn't native or anything. It is streaming from what is basically Netflix for games, but because it is built off the old OnLive systems, which weren't very good, it's a really bad Netflix for games. I had a good experience with PlayStation Now on the PlayStation Vita, and Sony took a hatchet to support for that. So, yeah, there has been no other platform where I've been able to have a good setup with PS Now. But, yeah, if you do have a good experience with PlayStation Now, you get to play plenty of new titles, including ones that you would otherwise have to buy new hardware for. And if I had to ask why, I'm pretty sure it was something to counter the announcement of the Xbox Game Pass, which is 100 games for just an extra $10 a month. And
on top of Xbox Live.
No. Xbox, on top of, as in, it's a different charge from Xbox Live Gold. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, additionally.
Yeah. And next on the list is Mass Effect Andromeda suffers from frequent frame rate problems on the Xbox One. Ooh boy. And this is only in single player, not multiplayer, and indoor areas are mostly free of issues, but once you're out and about exploring planets in the EA Access trial, which I think that just started today, you're going to see some significant frame rate drops. Now, where it's usually around 30 frames per second, it can drop down to the mid-20s, and oh boy. A drop from 60... I'm just going to interject here, A drop from 60 frames per second to 50 frames per second is pretty noticeable to some people, but for the majority of people, it isn't that bad because it's still completely playable. It's still pretty smooth in comparison to a lot of other stuff. But when you go from 30 frames per second to just even 24 frames per second, which is what, of course, movies and TV are at usually, that's awful. I'm not going to lie. I mean, in games, 24 frames per second is sluggish garbage. There is no other way to put it.
So, Andy, if you had to say a percentage of games that are 60 frames per second versus the 30, what is that split roughly? Because I have no idea.
That is just something that I can't even put statistics on.
Half and half? I mean,
because it all depends on the platform as well. PC games, there's an incredible on PC there is an incredibly higher chance of games being 60 frames per second, either natively or with a simple tweak to a single file. But on consoles, 30 frames per second is usually the target, although lately games have finally been getting up to 60 more and more often on there. It's this constant tug of war back and forth throughout the ages where you'll go 60 with one developer, one franchise, 30 with another. And it's something where you'd think that it would just be 1080p 60 frames per second by now, but somehow, despite all the technological improvements in the world that's been thrown at us, it just still stays out of reach.
But this issue is just with Mass Effect on the Xbox. It has nothing to do with PC.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And this doesn't even have anything to do with the PlayStation 4 version, I don't believe, although the only version you're able to play right now is on the Xbox One thanks to EA Access having a trial if you're part of that membership. And these frame rate drops are pretty big, fairly often, and it makes the controls feel clunky and odd. So yeah, the way that it's described in the article here says the game already runs at 30 frames per second, so any further dips make you feel like you're temporarily losing control of your character, and that isn't good. And if I had to come up with a reason for this, I'd say it's probably the fact that Mass Effect Andromeda looks pretty rushed. I mean, my previous thoughts on the game, based on some trailers and previews, were honestly really positive. I initially thought really negative stuff about BioWare. I looked at their trailers showing off the combat, it looked great. Then I look at the actual unedited footage, and while the combat looks great, not that much else does. And BioWare is a company that has had some rough years. And this is kind of veering off topic slightly, but it could explain some of these issues. But BioWare's teams, I've been told, if you compare credits at the end of Mass Effect 2 and at the end of stuff like Dragon Age Inquisition or even Mass Effect 3, you'll see that the teams are changing significantly to the point where there's almost nobody, or potentially nobody, left to be involved in Andromeda that was previously involved on other stuff in the series. And that's sad. Legitimately sad. And early previews of the game are mixed. There's some people who are still looking forward to it, and that's good. I mean, for them, I guess. But there's been plenty of negative reception to certain parts of it, and the animation of it is just among the worst ever. And I've seen the defense. Well, this is BioWare. They always have bad animations. No. This is a special kind of bad where just looking at it is just like awkward to look at because the animation is just so bizarre. From walking to the way characters look around, it doesn't even look like the quality of animation you'd see in a PlayStation 2 game. There are there are PC games from say 2000, so just before the PlayStation 2, but 2000. That had higher quality animation, both for the time and in general, than Mass Effect Andromeda. So, and it just looks in general like there's so many areas that they have been struggling to complete, and knowing Electronic Arts, there's likely heavy deadlines, heavy penalties for missing deadlines, and a lot of reason to just keep shuffling along to, at bare minimum, to the next goal as much as you can. And yeah, I just truly feel that certain areas on this are going to be an absolute train wreck. But yeah, on to the next story, a couple quick ones because I'm starting to lose my voice because I have no water here. Dead Rising 4's timed exclusivity in the Windows Store has ended, and it has launched on Steam. And Dead Rising 4 was exclusive to the Windows 10 Store on PC for 90 days. 98 days passed before release on Steam, so they had a couple extra time, probably just due to the nature of development, because you're obviously not going to be able to get a team together and say, alright, we need this pretty big task done within 90 days on the minute. That's not really how it works. Maybe in some situations it's possible, but that's not really how it works. You don't just go magic wizard wand, poof, snap your fingers, and it's done. So yeah. As for whenever the game will come to PlayStation 4, you're going to have to wait like a year for that, because console exclusive stuff was a year long, PC exclusive was just 90 days. So yeah, the only difference really between Windows Store version and the Steam version is that one version requires Windows 7, the other requires Windows 10 minimum, that is. So yeah. Oh boy. And finally, Project Scorpio will capture game footage in 4K and have an internal power supply. This news comes courtesy of Jez Corden from Windows Central, who is a great guy and has some great scoops lately. And this is news that interests me, because so far there's been only 2 Xbox units with an internal power supply, at least that I can think of off the top of my head. There was the original Xbox, and there's the Xbox One S. The Xbox One and the Xbox 360s both had power bricks. These in the internal power supply, it's built in there. It's significantly nicer when setting up cables because you don't have to worry about stacking blocks like Legos. And just overall, it looks nicer too. And so yeah, the Xbox One S had a internal power supply, and I would say, well, that doesn't seem like much of a surprise until you remember, oh yeah, the original one had that too. They ditched it with the 360. And then according to trusted sources, Project Scorpio will feature HEVC and VP9 codecs for 4K Netflix streaming, just like the Xbox One S, but the console will also utilize HEVC for encoding 4K 60 FPS video for game DVR and streaming. Xbox One currently only supports 720p 30 FPS video captures, so Project Scorpio should be a massive upgrade. The machine should also give streamers and YouTube hosts an easy way to produce 4K 60 FPS content without the need to purchase expensive hardware. And hopefully Microsoft will upgrade Upload Studio with powerful editing tools so that content creators can produce quality videos. Alrighty.
Like Groove Music Maker. Oh wait.
Oh.
Yeah.
That one isn't even vaporware. That thing is just like mock-upware, really, what I like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
As it was shown off in a concept video, was not even announced, and it was just like a half-a-second blip where you see, oh yeah, Groove Music Maker. I am going to have to down a jug of water after this.
All right. Well, you have been...
This is the end of the news, by the way, folks.
Yeah, you've been busy. You've been doing a lot of extra things. Maybe you've respirated out more moisture from your body because you bought a new PC.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of that segue. Why? Tell me about your PC, man.
All right. So my previous computer, the one that I've been recording the podcasts on throughout the entire time, was pretty much at the end of its life cycle. In fact, it got performance with Windows 10 on it got so bad that I had to go back to Windows 7 on there. Which, it's not exactly Windows 10's fault, it's the fact the computer is just crap's fault. Really old, it's an oldish machine. I got it refurbished, and it was only like $100-something, and features 4 gigs of RAM, an AMD Athlon 2 processor. That was 64-bit, but it just wasn't very good. and of course the worst integrated graphics of all time. Well, thankfully, I have since moved on to greener pastures with an Acer Aspire that I picked up for $450 before tax. That features 7th gen Intel i5, 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM, 2 terabyte hard drive, and of course Windows 10. And this is and while it wasn't mentioned in the Amazon listing, this is a signature PC. So I don't have any OEM bloatware, and there's actually a bundle apparently of signature edition wallpapers, which I had no idea that was a thing until today.
I don't actually recall Acer having incredibly bad bloatware anyway. I think HP's probably been about the worst for that. But
yeah, the old one was actually an HP. And, and again, since I got it refurbished, there wasn't really any bloatware. But, oh boy, it was just a bad computer in general. And it was a gift from my parents, actually, back when I couldn't afford one at all. And I am eternally grateful for it. I mean, it's gotten me this far, but it still doesn't make it good, you know?
Well, tell me about the one you have now and your experience
setting
it up, maybe just briefly.
The experience setting it up was pretty smooth, really, because, like I mentioned in the intro, the way that all the Windows settings get synced across devices, and the fact that I even sync stuff with Firefox, and I've got very minimal list of programs I installed to begin with, it's really, really easy for me to go from computer to computer and Windows install to Windows install. In fact, it's just literally just pull the old computer out of where I had it on my desk, of course, hook up all the same cables, and bada boom. Transition was pretty easy once everything got synced up. I've got all... Okay,
one thing to touch on there is the restoring from a backup and not the system image itself, but just having all your apps and everything just back on the PC the way you had it, and settings. That's not me. Even for phones, I mean, it's so rare that I will restore unless there's an actual problem between my different devices that I use. Especially the Windows 10 devices, I do not. Each device, each piece of hardware has a different purpose to some extent. It definitely has a different feel to it. It has. I set it up differently. Where the tiles are, even the accent color, and to some extent the settings. And to touch on the settings, I make a point when I set up a new PC or phone for that matter. I scroll through. I dig into the menu settings as deep as I can, settings menu, and just remind myself what's in there, and I go through and adjust what I need to, and it's more of just a habit. It's almost just a discipline thing, because it reminds me of what's in there and what's happening, because I don't often... If I need to, man, I can set up a phone pretty freaking fast.
Yeah.
And I do it an awful lot, actually.
Yeah. Not counting initial Windows setup, setting up this computer took me like maybe 20 minutes to a half hour to get everything set up that I could remember. Because I keep all my files either on an external hard drive or in OneDrive. So that, of course, doesn't take very long to get across. Even though I've got like 9 gigs of OneDrive files, but then I find out today that my internet got upgraded to a 11 megabyte download. So that was a very nice surprise to come with the computer.
Wait, you say you have 9 gigs of OneDrive storage used?
Yeah, I use 9 gigs of OneDrive storage out of that gigantic 1 terabyte that I will never fill up in my life. Because I don't store crazy amounts of stuff. Like, I will store pictures, which I think the majority of that's big. No, only 1.3 gigs of pictures. So now I'm wondering where the heck the rest of it's from. I do know
probably
I have
some audio files.
Yeah, I do have a couple of things stored in here. Podcast I actually store on the external hard drive for the most part. I do store some full episodes on the in the OneDrive if I'm getting particularly worried, but for the most part, not too much.
I think I'm at 173 in OneDrive.
Oh man,
yeah, and that's not something to be boastful of. It's just that that's That's what I use, and then I have different accounts too. And my wife and kids have their own stuff. It's shared with me, so I can access it. Just whatever.
I've used almost 570 gigabytes on the external hard drive. I should probably move some of that to OneDrive.
Well, yeah, or vice versa. Depending on, I should probably move some of that stuff that's on OneDrive off of there. Because if I'm not using it, if I'm not doing anything with it, at some point, they may change their plans. I may decide that Office 365 is it needed, that I would just whatever. It's almost wasteful because I'm not really doing much with that, with what's up there. Anyway, I wanted to finish up to kind of counterbalance what Andy got with the new PC. I did not get a new PC or a new phone, but my Lumia 830, which came out, I don't know, 3 years ago or something, is one of my favorite devices. I haven't really been using it much. I had rolled it back to Windows Phone 8.1. Well, I should say I had it set up with on fast ring, mobile fast ring, and I just like modded the heck out of it as much as you could, not like actually putting in new ROMs or anything silly like that, but I modified like the DPI settings on it and like all kinds of weird. It looked really, really weird, and I went back to stock, and then I rolled it forward again, and just some simple tips for that kind of thing. Not that it's incredibly important, but expect to just restart your device several times. Expect to check for updates several times. Expect to check for app updates several times. Restart the phone, check it again, update. Then install the Insider app on it. Then then reboot it. Then check for updates. Install. Check for updates again. Then check for app updates again. Install those or update them. It's kind of silly and. To counterbalance that, though, it's still so clean. There's still so little on there. I uninstalled maybe half a dozen, maybe 8 or 10 apps, like Excel, for example, which makes sense for Microsoft to put on there. And in this case, I just uninstalled it. I think really the only one that's bloatware would be Yellow Pages, YP page, Yellow Pages. Those type of things uninstall, and it showed I only had 600 megabytes of apps on the device, which is good. I'm fine with that. And the rest of the OS really took only like 2 gigs or something like that. And it's still, we need to be thankful for those things. That's still good. And of course the device runs fine. 1 gig of RAM, running Windows 10. I think it's release preview, Windows 10 mobile release preview. It's a fun little device. And the reason
we're over an hour.
Yeah, but I should just say the reason I was messing with that is that I'm passing that down to my wife because her phone is starting to go and she wanted a little bit better camera. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's according to this, I have enough disk space remaining for 1,501 minute or 1,500 hours in 1 minute. So we better hurry before I finish that 1 minute.
All right, we'll finish it up. Listeners, thank you for listening to another episode of the MSPoweruser podcast. Be sure to follow the site on Twitter. Well, hey, follow the site online, MSPoweruser.com, and on Twitter at MSPoweruser. Be sure to subscribe to the show so that the new episode is out there every Friday morning for you as you're ready to listen. If you feel compelled to interact with us individually, Twitter is the place for that. I'm on Twitter at VernonEL, and Andy's on Twitter at FusionFan45. Boy, that's it. Oh, and my oldest child got her driver's license this week.
Oh, congratulations.
Yikes. So, all right. Take care, everyone. Have a great week.
Later.